You're listening to Radio Kidnappers, the voice of Hawke's Bay. This is a program called...
Oh, The Wonderful World of Wardini Books. Got distracted by this book,
I know, you're
Ken.
reading the biggest book I've ever seen in the whole wide world. It's our pleasure, as always, to have in the studio Lou from Wardini Books and Havelock North, part of the Wardini Empire, which has two stores. Where are they?
They are, dominating Hawke's Bay.
Yes.
We are in Havelock North, 16 Tomato Road and 44 Hastings Street, Napier.
Yes, you are. And we've got 3 more great books. As we're sort of winding up for Christmas, and we've had a chat before we came together, you're getting busy.
Yep.
That's great, isn't it?
It is. It's lovely.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you can't beat a book for Christmas, that's what I say.
You can't what?
Beat a book.
Beat? I thought you said you can't get a book for Christmas.
Well, you get thousands, but you
can. Yes. Yeah,
anyway, 3 great books, one of a kind. Tell us about it. It's a big book.
It's by Neil Packer. It's a Walker Studio book, one of a kind, a story about sorting and classifying. And this is the sort of book that absolutely anyone will pick up and just get absorbed in. Like, I was completely distracted there, and I had forgotten where I was, because I was looking at the percentage of DNA in Arvo's relatives. So it starts with Arvo. Look at that psychedelic, brilliant picture of Arvo. It's a little boy, and he's carrying his violin case, and he's going off down the road. And
imagine if that was a poster on a wall. It would be disturbing if it was really big one. That's sort of
one of those ones that you're supposed to see something else in. Yeah. But we start with Arvo's family, and it goes back generations upon generations. And this is where I hadn't noticed before that there's the percentage of our family's DNA that we share in each one. So it goes back many generations and then goes off this way with father's side and this way with mother's side. So that's Arvo's family tree. And the next bit is about Malcolm. Malcolm is Arvo's cat. And that's his family. That's Malcolm's family. So it goes back to snow leopards and tigers all being in one classification, and then where Malcolm comes in later on, because he's a bit of a moggy. And then after that, they're part of a bigger group. They're part of the animal kingdom, and so we have the animal kingdom.
Look at that.
And then it talks about things like Arvo's off to play violin in the orchestra, so then that's the family of musical instruments.
Yeah, I love it.
Isn't it cool?
You can understand why the book is so big.
Yeah, because it needs space to get the illustrations in properly. And then after school, Arvo's dad takes him to his violin lesson in the car, so we have vehicle groups.
I love it.
And then later on at the tool shed, because I think he's fixing his bike, and cloud types, and just all sorts of things that can be sorted and classified. And I sat with a 9-year-old in the shop the other day, and we got totally lost. And the things that come out of those conversations are just brilliant. Yeah, so this is a book that I think every home should have for Christmas, because nobody will be bored. Nobody will get grumpy. As soon as someone starts whinging, give them this book.
I suppose that is what you would call a good coffee table book.
It is. Did you know that there's an apple variety called Winter Banana?
I did not know that. Does it taste like a banana?
I don't know.
I suppose it might.
There's a Glockenapple as well.
The old Glockenapple.
Yeah.
Is that an English apple, the winter banana?
Sounds like it should be,
doesn't it? Yes, it's very English. Only they would have one called a winter
ridiculous enough. Yeah. But yeah, what a brilliant book. I just think that's such a great present for anybody.
Absolutely. Anyone of all age could read that book.
Yeah.
Tell us about We Are Wolves.
This is a children's book, isn't it beautiful?
I like it. I like the style.
And this filled in a lot of gaps for me, because I did not know much about at the end of the war, when Hitler knew he was going to lose, and the Russians marching into East Prussia. Did you know about that?
No.
So this is it's a family of East Prussian children, and of course they've got the picture of Hitler on the wall. But Otto, the middle child, he's about, how old is he? He's about 8, I would say, and he is getting quite cross because Hitler is now picking off the fathers that are too old to go to war and the disabled people who shouldn't be going to war, and he's just picking up everybody. And so their father, there's Liesel, who is about 11, Otto, who's about 8, and then the baby who's 18 months old, Mia. And they live with their mum and their dad and their Opa and Oma, their grandfather and grandmother. And Dad's now got to go to war, and Otto is furious, and he keeps saying things about Hitler. Hitler is a pig and all that kind of. They say shh, because it's very terrifying. Don't say it, because someone will come and shoot your whole family. So what happens is Dad goes to war, and then the Russians are coming, and they have to scramble and they have to leave because they're burning villages, they're shooting Germans here, there and everywhere. And the kids don't really understand exactly what's going on, and it's written by this lady, Katrina Nannerstadt, in such a sensitive way that it's not frightening. You know as an adult exactly what's going on, but if you were a 9-year-old reading it, you'd go, oh, that's a bit scary, and you wouldn't be too disturbed by it. You would just know that the kids are in danger. And so they flee, and it's a blizzard, and it's all based on truth. It's a blizzard in East Prussia in 1945, and they go out, and these old people just can't cope. And eventually, Orpo and Omar just say, oh, we'll catch you up in a bit.
Yes, oh
And
no.
they're surrendering to the cold.
Yeah.
And they're going across this frozen lake in a convoy with lots of other fleeing families, and they've got a horse and cart and Mama, and the Russians open fire on them, and Mama just tells the kids to run into that forest, and that's the last they see of her.
Oh, wow.
And then it is based on the true story of the Wolfskinder, which were the wolf children, these orphaned kids that had to survive by themselves in the woods around East Prussia.
And it's the story of these depressing.
Three kids. It's not, because what it's about is the 3 kids, and Liesl has promised her mum that she will look after the 2 little ones.
Yeah.
And Mia's only a baby, and they have to. And there are times at which they're eating frogs and slugs because, and they're making game of it. And
oh my God.
there are these beautiful moments of kindness, even from the Russian soldiers. And Liesl comes to this understanding that, okay, I hate all the Russians, but maybe not that Russian. Oh, and that Russian's not too bad either.
Right.
And the things that they're saying about Hitler, maybe Hitler's the bad guy, and she comes to these understandings. But there are these moments of pure joy where they just find another orphan kid that's caught a fish, and he shares it, and there are just beautiful moments in it.
What about a spoiler? Does Dad come back?
No.
Oh no.
But there is a really cool ending.
Yeah, that's good.
Brought a tear to my eye, and there's a lot of kindness and hope in there.
Right.
But how horrendous. I knew nothing about the Wolfskinder.
Yeah.
But I do now.
People say, oh, imagine that, but you can't imagine that.
You really
can
can't. No.
I just noticed that it's a hardcover book, and I wonder how hardcover books sell. I mean, I love a hardcover book.
I think this one's been produced like this for a point of difference, and because it is a really special, beautiful book. You've got kids that read war stories all the time, and this one I think is beautiful and hopeful. And so ABC Publishing have decided that they are going to make it special.
Who does it appeal to? I know it's a children's book, but who's going to read it? Is it going to be adults going to read it, obviously?
I don't see why not. Yeah. But there are a lot of kids that are really into the war stories, and schools read them, things like Maurice Gleitzman's Once series, which I find hard to read out loud to classes because they make me cry.
Yeah.
Michael Morpurgo's war stories as well. Any kid that read The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas, I mean, that's far more disturbing than this one.
Absolutely.
Because of the way it's written. So,
well, hopefully on a lighter note, but it doesn't look like it. We've got The Great Escape from Woodlands Nursing Home.
Why would you say it's not a lighter note?
Old people in nursing homes can't get out.
Wow.
It's almost shades of, what was that movie with Jack Nicholson? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, God, no, it's not like that. They're not locked in. This is by Joanna Nell, and she wrote one called The Single Ladies of Jacaranda Retirement Village. So Joanna Nell's a doctor, and she's done a lot of work in residential care homes, and observe the people and observe the life that's in there and the fun that can be had.
Yes.
So yes, it's sad when you get really old and you can't look after yourself and you have to go out of your home, and that is the really sad part. But then she has also seen the friendships and the fun and the mischief that can be had. So those are what her stories are about. And when I recommend these books to people, they go, oh, I can't give that to my mum, it's a bit close to home.
Yeah.
Like, well, what about representation? Don't older people want to see themselves in books?
Yeah,
and don't they want to see 89-year-old Hattie Bloom having a good time at Woodlands Retirement Home? So what happens is Hattie is 89. She's never married. She's an ornithologist, and she's come off a ladder because she's trying to save this family of owls, and next door wants to chop this branch down, and all this kind of thing. So she's come off the ladder because she's trying to sort the owls out, and broken a hip and that kind of thing. So she has to go into Woodlands Nursing Home for respite care. And she's certainly not going to stay. She keeps trying to abscond in the taxi, and they keep saying, it's not a good idea, Miss Bloom, And then you've got Walter, and he's 90, and he's a widower, and he was a driving instructor his whole life. And he now waits for visits from his grandson and drinks a lot of Johnny Walker, and he's got a good mate next door who's not actually
he's having a good time.
He's having a good time, but he thinks he's going to get his licence for this mobility scooter thing. And the occupational therapist comes round, and she won't pass him because he's just gone herring off around the place. And then what happens is, so they're getting fed up, and they are fed up of the infringements upon their freedom and the things that they want to do. And, he's got to hide his Johnny Walker bottles in the back of the cupboard. And
so they revolt.
There is a nurse who only does night shifts, and Sister Bronwyn realises that a lot of older people don't sleep at night.
No.
So why are they just lying in bed staring up into space? So that's when she has arts and crafts and all sorts of stuff going on at the Night Owls Club.
Great idea.
Isn't she marvellous? But it's an unofficial club, and when she gets found out, things turn a bit rotten. So then there's this campaign, and there's also a dog in it. There's a dog called Queenie, who's a really old, smelly Labrador, and she's the unofficial night staff member.
So it's based on real life?
Well, I think it's things that this doctor has observed, and they're really, really funny. And when I went to a book club at Mary Doyle, Retirement Village, and so that was people by older people, and I told them about the Single Ladies of Jacaranda Retirement Village, and they bought a copy, and they loved it. And many more people came in to buy it, and they passed it around all their friends, and they said, it's just like living here. It was hilarious. So I don't think we should shy away from it.
No, we should not, because we're all going to end up there one day, probably.
Yeah, well, if we're lucky.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll go to that one.
Yeah, it looks good.
All right, we want these great books. Where do we get them?
Wardini Books, please. That would be nice.
As always, Lou, my pleasure. You look after yourself. Talk to the same time, same place next time.
Thanks, Ken.